The people in your business should not be bigger than your brand.
It shouldn't be seen as a damage to the brand. It should actually be seen as a positive for the brand.
So how would you see you protecting the brand if you've got an employee that is bigger than the brand and they go rogue?
I make sausages instead of burgers. I don't know. Part of why people buy into a brand is they buy into the people.
I think things have changed over the last decade.
Decade.
Hello.
You can tell this is the first one of the new series, can't you? Welcome to the Full Disclosure Podcast with me, Ed Purnell, the founder of the franchise, and my co-host,
Jo Middleton from Franchise Business School.
Each episode, one host will make and defend a strong statement from around the franchising industry. The other has to argue against it. This episode, it's Jo's turn, so let's get on with it.
So, the people in your business should not be bigger than your brand.
Okay, and what's your argument for that?
Well, I'm not going to put all my cards on the table straight away, but I will start with being clear that the brand should be an asset in its own right, and it should be protected as that asset by the franchisor and the head office team. If you've got a member of your team that is building a large reputation for themselves on social media and growing bigger than the brand, should they decide to split from the brand, they could potentially set up in competition. Full disclosure, I'm not 100% on board with this statement, but I'm arguing this week that your people of your business, your brand, should not be bigger than the brand itself.
Okay, so what is a brand to you?
A brand is a well-oiled national machine that your franchisees can come on board with, that's constantly evolving, constantly keeping fresh, and making waves in innovation in the industry that you're in. What about you? What's a brand to you?
It's a lot of it is the people, the values, and the beliefs and the way they represent themselves to people outside of their business. Mm-hmm. So sometimes people think it's a logo or something like that, but it's much more than that. Yes, that's part of it, and that's how you kind of show that it's the brand is part of this company. Mm-hmm. But to me, it's about the people. So I like what you said there about the well-oiled machine, because I was thinking then, if you can have as part of your machine certain elements of it that work really well and perhaps outshine the kind of thing that's just doing the basic piece of the machinery, mm-hmm. That's going to improve it's going to make an improvement for the whole machine, right? Okay. So when you look at it with an individual within a brand, if that individual is performing really well and perhaps better than a lot of the other people, and a big part of a brand performing well is exposure and traction and increasing brand awareness. So one individual doing really well, it shouldn't be seen as a damage to the brand. It should actually be seen as a positive for the brand, because it's something for others to follow, and we can get up to that standard, but also just helps that awareness.
No, I completely agree, and I think that anything that brings positive brand awareness with the shared values and beliefs of the brand and in line with the mission statement of the brand is something to be commended. However, should there be a need for restructuring of the organisation to make it propel forward and to make it more future-proof, and that restructuring didn't include the person who has become bigger than the brand, then there could be room for bad feeling, and the franchisor might feel that they're not able to do the restructuring that needs to happen, and that's detrimental to the brand as a result, because that person is bigger than the brand itself.
Maybe, but then that's part of the decision, the strategic decision to take, right? Is do you take that part of the machine out and go down a different route because you're going to make sausages instead of burgers? I don't know. But I think, so how would you control that individual then? So somebody is a shining light, and also, who in your mind is it? Is it somebody that's internal, like the head office team, or a franchisee?
It's a really interesting point. I think that if you've got a franchisee who is an ambassador for the brand and completely bought into the vision and the mission, and they're tied into a 5-year franchise agreement, and they're building this business as an asset that they will want to keep growing, then that's a very different mindset to an employee who can just give 30 days notice and be on their way. And although there's going to be an ethical element and the non-disclosure element in their agreement, there is nothing to say that after a certain amount of time they might not set up in competition, knowing all of your brand secrets and being bigger than the brand that you've created. So how would you see you protecting the brand if you've got an employee that is bigger than the brand and they go rogue?
See, I wasn't thinking about employees. I was thinking about franchisees. Yeah. And employee, that's a bit more difficult. But I think if you give guidelines as to what's acceptable and what isn't, and then give them the freedom to go out there and do what they want to within those parameters. The trouble is you don't want those parameters too tight, because you're going to stifle creativity. And a big part of why people buy into a brand is they buy into the people, right? And that includes the head office team as well as the existing franchisees. And so if you just hide them away in a dark corner, but they're actually, a big shining light that could really promote and support your brands, then it's no good. So I think there's just maybe some parameters. I don't know what those parameters are though. Like,
no, I feel like the creativity that you touched on there needs to be nurtured in all employees or franchisees, and to empower people that come into contact with your brand to be able to find their voices and go out there and to sort of shine their lights, because ultimately it will shine a positive light on the brand. It's just making sure that it doesn't risk being at the detriment of the brand in any way.
Is this the same problem as any employment though? It's not necessarily a franchise, is it? And I've worked in companies before where, I'm not saying I was necessarily the shining light, not in terms of...
I'm sure you were, Ed. Yeah.
Not in terms of performance or anything like that, but in terms of creativity, one organisation in particular I was thinking about, I was the one going out there on social media a lot more, and putting things out there. And what I found then is the others followed, but maybe like a year or two later, right, when they kind of realised, actually, it's kind of working. And so, and actually, the more I'm talking about it, the more I don't think you should put parameters on it. And actually, if you are able to foster employees who are able to shine in that way and be a beacon for the brand, that's just going to attract more people like that to your brand and strengthen it in the long run. If you hide those great people away, the other great people that you may want to replace them with, you don't attract them, because creative, out there people who want to be, all in on a brand and share that with the world, they're just going to look at a company and go, you don't let any of your existing staff do this, you're just going to stifle me.
And you're right, people do buy from people as well. So having that know, like, trust with the individuals that are in your business, either the franchisees, the local franchisees doing the marketing in their areas, or the employees at head office, you're ultimately going to grow the brand if people are more visible. I think things have changed over the last decade. Over the last decade, I think things have changed because when I first franchised the business for the first time, it was very much about the brand being a commercial, profitable enterprise that worked without you. And it was very much a standalone sort of feature, that the brand was the sort of social influencer, if you like, rather than you or your team. However, now I think with the increase in social media and the increase in people using social media through lockdown and the growth of of people getting their faces out there, really. I think that it is more important for a franchisor to be visible, and the franchisor head office team.
I guess in some ways it depends on the brand, right? Because McDonald's is, and Subways and places like that, it's the brand will sell it. It's not necessarily about the individual franchise owner in that territory or location.
Yeah, but they're more established and more recognised. So maybe by that point that a brand's got that level of traction, there's no need for the people to be seen as much. But
I think there is, but it's just in a different way. It's not necessarily about that individual and his impact on his local or her local network or community, because the brand will do that for them. But
I don't know.
But overall, as a brand, if you look at like a McDonald's LinkedIn profile, right, where you wouldn't think there would be, every post has got people on it.
But I don't know who my local McDonald's franchisee is. Do you?
I've got an image of him in my head.
Have you?
Yeah.
That's a bit scary.
Yeah, but I think he owns like the most McDonald's in the UK or something like that. So he's been in the news. I'm not stalking him.
Hello. No, I've got no idea who my local McDonald's, who my local Subway franchisee is, or Kentucky Fried Chicken or Burger King. I know none of my local franchisees for those, because the brand speaks for itself, and there's no need for the people to be bigger than the brand, or whether they should be bigger or not, I don't know.
A kids' activity franchise, though, for example, I think there's a real benefit to having the person front and centre, like the franchisee front and centre.
Yeah, I think brands like Joe Jingles and Puddle Ducks and some of the brands that have been around longer and are more established, people will just buy off the brand. But if you've got a franchisee who's just starting a territory in an area where there are no other local franchisees neighbouring, then the local community aren't going to be familiar with that brand yet. So I think it would be more important for them to get their face out. Whether they need to be bigger than the brand or not, I don't know.
Oh yeah, was it the people in your business should not be bigger than your brand? Oh no, I'd say after all that arguing, I'm like, maybe they shouldn't be bigger, but no, I think all of them should be bigger than the brand, not just one. That's what it is. I think everybody
should be doing it.
And that then becomes the brand, and it's not reliant on a logo and some colours.
But likewise, it's not reliant on one individual that is bigger than the brand. It's a collective sort of everyone.
I think what happens though is some people shy away from that kind of side of things.
Absolutely,
don't they?
Yeah, and sometimes for personal reasons as well, and they don't want to be visible because they don't want to be visible.
You can tell this is the first one of the new series, can't you? Okay, cool. So yeah, don't stifle your employees or your franchisees.
Nurture creativity.
Nurture creativity. Have it as part of the brand focus, is to get your people front and centre as long as they want to be.
But whilst also promoting the brand, the look, the feel, the values, the mission, beliefs at the same time.
Yeah, boom, done. Did someone win that?
Me, I hit the buzzer.
No, what? That's not how this works.
You hit the buzzer, you win. I think that's fair.
Here's what's coming up next on the Full Disclosure Podcast. So, franchisors, you know who they are, right? They are 100% responsible for motivating their franchisees. Thanks for listening, and if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you hit the subscribe button to be alerted for when the next episode is out. Also, please share the podcast far and wide, because the more people we can educate about franchising, the better. Catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.